Understanding the lens, fact, fiction, and confusion. In this video, we're going to take a look at the Peer Advisory Task Force report, design competition and how the lens was chosen, what the lens is supposed to look like and do, is the lens safe and functional, the top 10 reasons to stop the lens, and what to do after the lens is stopped. Start with the Peer Advisory Task Force report. Here are the summary considerations of that report, which came out in June 2010. In particular, they said that the pier needs to be a destination not only for the region, but internationally as well. Well, what is a destination? I think you could safely define it as you need things to do there and you need reasons to stay there for a while. In addition, the chair said that the pier is in the entertainment business and needs to address a primary unfilled niche for family entertainment. Regarding the building should be an iconic structure, a worthy symbol of our great city. The pier vista should remain unobstructed to allow for maximum views. And there should be the potential for a 26,000 square foot restaurant, 5,000 square foot retail for revenue production, with additional 5 to 15,000 square feet potential for non-revenue producing community flexible space. The design competition and how the lens was chosen. In June 2011, there was a two-stage Peer International Design Competition announced. In Stage 1, the registration and statements of qualifications were submitted, and design teams submitted qualifications and portfolios of accomplishments to demonstrate the team's vision and design approach, as well as their capability and experience of the team. 23 design teams submitted their statements of qualification. Very important, these were resumes only. No designs or sketches of possible designs were submitted for review. A 5-member jury reviewed the qualifications and portfolios. In July, the list was narrowed to 9. In August, the jury selected 3 shortlisted teams to be invited to the design stage, and in September, they presented their selections to the City Council for approval. Now, this is the weak link in the new peer process. 23 design team resumes were submitted. Remember, no design sketches or ideas. Then the list was dropped down to 9, and then 3 design teams were chosen based solely on their resumes, not on their design themes to submit their new peer designs. The result, only 3 designs to choose from. And these were the 3 designs: the eye, the wave, and the lens. Well, the lens won. And here's a fun fact. Do you know why it was called the lens? Well, take a look at this picture from the contest submission. Note the beautiful crystal clear water that you can just gaze right into like a swimming pool. Well, here's from their contest submission why it was called the lens. Quote, like a magnifying glass on the water, the new pier acts both as a lens back to the city and a window into the underwater world beneath. Looping out over the water from the shore, the lens provides views of the bay below and sky above. Now, anybody who's seen the water here in St. Pete knows it's not like a swimming pool. It's not crystal clear. It's beautiful, but you're not going to gaze right down to the bottom. So the lens concept was flawed from the beginning, but the name stuck. So what does the lens currently look like and do? Here we're going to see the 9 updated renderings from the architect that came out July 3rd and reference to the previous schematic reports to the City Council. Now here's the lens at a glance. Basically, you've got 2 bridges that crisscross that go out to an area where there is the canopy or tiara. Now, what's out there? Well, you've got a promontory grill, an ice cream stand, fishing, and learning steps. There's a circular marina for up to 24 motorized boats plus non-motorized watercraft, a 12-foot wide upper bridge, and a 20-foot wide lower bridge with a tram. Note, there are no air-conditioned or enclosed areas. Here's a look at the marina from the updated renderings. And a close-up view of the people on the canopy. The crisscrosses that you see there, now the canopy is made of aluminum panels. Originally it was going to be concrete. But how hot do you think the people will be there with the sun reflecting off that aluminum canopy? Here's the promontory edge and the ice cream stand. Now in the architect's comments, They say this area has been expanded to 22,900 square feet to allow for a larger promontory grill, and it can also accommodate community events and special functions. Let's see how that may work. Here's a schematic of the promontory area on the lens. You've got the restrooms, ice cream stand, promontory turnaround. This is where emergency vehicles, service vehicles, and the tram turn around, so obviously you can't have a gathering in there. The learning steps, which are not covered, stairs, elevator, the promontory grill, and the overwater drive for access by the vehicles, service vehicles, and emergency vehicles, and the tram. What you see left over is the area that's available for gatherings. Not a very big space. Here's the view from Vinoy Park, learning steps, and here's a better view of the grid, the aluminum grid panels that will be on the canopy and how they may look. And on the learning steps, the architect says that 285 people should be able to sit here. Now, does that seem reasonable to you? Also, notice how everyone is dressed here on the learning steps. Long pants, mostly dark, long sleeve shirts, and sweaters. Must be an early January image. You've got the balcony view. Here's a view of the grid of the aluminum panels from the back. Boat view, overwater bridge, welcome mat and hub, and the 9th updated rendering of view back to the city. Now, is the lens safe and functional? Well, let's take a look. First, there's no air-conditioned building for relief from the sun and heat. And I think everybody knows it gets hot here in Florida, especially during the summer. No sheltered areas from storms, and we get a lot of sudden, powerful storms in our area. The only shelter is under the canopy where rain and wind will blow. On the promontory edge, no shelter there, and no shelter on the back. As a matter of fact, there may be a possible wind tunnel effect. As the winds come in, being blown in from the bay, the rain and wind may be funneled down and actually increase the force and velocity right at the point that the people will be. The overwater drive, the lower bridge. Let's take a look at the railings. See, the railings shown are for pedestrians. Now, since large vehicles will use the drive, it may need Florida Department of Transportation road-rated railings. After all, we don't want service and emergency vehicles driving into the bay. Now, that would be a much higher cost, and it may reduce the usable width. The overwater bridge, the upper bridge, also known as the bike path, which is 12 feet wide. This is a bike path that you cannot ride onto or off of. Raul Quintana, the city architect, said, quote, "The intent is obviously that when you get to the end of the overwater bridge, you're probably going to have to dismount your bike and walk your bike down that ramp. It's not intended to be a ramp that you're going to easily ride a bike down." There's been comparison made between the Pinellas Trail and the overwater bridge because both are 12 feet wide. But it's pretty much an apples and oranges comparison, and here's why. On the Pinellas Trail, you've got a low volume and a long distance. On the lens, high volume and a short distance. On the trail, it's open, escape on the sides. On the lens, it's closed, no escape on the sides. On the trail, the goal is for people to enjoy pleasant riding with minimal traffic. On the lens, the goal is to have a lot of traffic. So on the trail, a 12-foot width is adequate, but on the lens, the 12-foot width is probably not adequate. And many people on the overwater bridge will not hear any warnings because they're all wearing headphones. Take a look at this picture from the architect. Aren't these people a bit too orderly? On the right-hand side, everybody's riding in a nice straight line. And on the left-hand side, everybody's riding in a nice straight line the opposite direction. Real people don't ride on trails that way. And people are going to be sightseeing on the bridge, walking around, meandering. So what happens when the sightseeing couple steps to their left in front of the children on bicycles? We got a circular marina. The dashed line is the approximate middle, and the architect says we can have up to 24 motorized watercraft plus human-powered watercraft sharing this space. that doesn't seem reasonable or safe. Cleaning and maintenance of the canopy. Will this need daily cleaning? How? It's big. What about the cost? What about environmental issues? So is the lens safe and functional? Well, there's no air-conditioned building for heat and sun relief, no shelter from storms with wind and rain. Possible wind tunnel effect may increase the danger. You've got a bike path you cannot ride onto or off of. A fenced upper bridge, bike path that may be too narrow. The overwater drive railings will not stop vehicles. Up to 24 motorized watercraft plus non-motorized and a small circular marina. Canopy cleaning and environmental issues, plus no ability for simultaneous events. Let's look at the top 10 reasons to stop the lens. Number 10, a bike path, the upper bridge you cannot ride onto or off of. As we said earlier, the architect said, it is not intended to be a ramp that you're going to easily ride a bike down. Number 9, the bowl-shaped canopy will be covered in bird poop and require high maintenance. It may have environmental issues of the cleaning solution washing into the bay. Now note, the architect says the canopy will be, quote, self-cleaning. However, the pelicans may not be aware of that. Number 8, a circular marina inside the lens with up to 24 motorized boats plus non-motorized watercraft will be loud and unpleasant in the lens, pollute the water, generate that marina smell, be dangerous for non-motorized watercraft, and increase the risk of damage to the lens from motorized boats hitting it. Number 7, no ability to have simultaneous events without intruding on each other. Example, a band would be heard by everyone whether they wanted to or not. Number 6, the promontory grill and learning steps are located with no shade from the late afternoon sun. Number 5, the upper bridge is too narrow for safety because it is fenced, not open like the Pinellas Trail. Number 4, no large gathering place for events. Number 3, no air-conditioned building for relief from the sun and heat. Number 2, no shelter in the event of a typical sudden storm with strong winds and rain. And the number 1 reason to stop the lens? It simply does not meet the Pier Task Force guidelines. Very limited things to do. 1 restaurant, an ice cream stand, fishing, and limited marina. There's no building at all. Not a destination with reasons to go there and stay there. And it does not fill the niche for family entertainment activities. So, if the lens is stopped, what do we do after the lens is stopped? What happens next? What then? Well, our waterfront is not going to sit idle and decay. You see, we have resumes of 23 design teams that wanted to compete previously. There are already steps in progress for the development of a new pier solution. We've got the Pier Advisory Task Force report to use as a guideline. We've got the 828 Alliance, who had their first meeting July 10th. And Mayor Foster, when he unveiled the details of it, simply said that he had convened a task force of city leaders determined to unify St. Petersburg behind 2 basic premises. 1, St. Petersburg is passionate in the future of the St. Petersburg waterfront, and 2, that not having a pier in the near future of the city is not an option. For the 828 Alliance, the mayor said, whether it's the lens or another proposal, we will build a new St. Petersburg pier in a timely manner and within the $50 million budget. Time is of the essence, and on August 28th, with the help of the 828 Alliance, we will build consensus for the construction and programming of the lens, or we will have recommendations for a process to design and select the future St. Petersburg pier. We also have the Urban Land Institute, ULI, and development of a waterfront master plan already engaged. In October and December of 2012, the city conducted downtown waterfront master plan process workshops. In January of 2013, there was a city resolution to contract with ULI for an advisory service panel concerning the waterfront master plan solutions. Total cost $125,000. The city's portion is $25,000. So, steps we already have in place. There's the resumes of 23 design teams, a peer advisory task force report. the 828 Alliance, and we've already engaged the Urban Land Institute in development of a waterfront master plan. St. Pete is ready to move forward. Remember, on August 27th, vote yes to stop the lens.